Hey everybody, welcome back. If you joined me the first time, I encourage you to go and look at some of the previous tutorials. We just created our rad hello world, and I just took you through some of the basics of how to get going in making apps with Unity. We really went through with the buttons and UI buttons, UI images, and UI text. In this tutorial, we're going to explore taking this project and turning it into an iOS app. There's a few steps you have to go in doing that, and then after that we're going to talk about the canvas, because we'll be doing most of our design and layout of the screen within the canvas and using UI panels. First things first, we need to take our project, we need to convert it into an iOS project. In order to do this, what we'll do is we'll go up to click on here, and then we're going to go to File, Build Settings. And then here on the left, you can see we have a few build settings here. And right now it's for PC, Mac, and Linux standalone, and this is what it defaults to. And you can see we have other things here. So we're going to click on iOS, and then we're going to go down to the bottom left and hit Switch Platform. Now this is going to take all of our assets and it's going to reformat them for iOS. It's going to include some other runtime code that we need and other elements that are under the hood. So now that it's completed, and that was really fast. If we had a bigger project, it would take a lot longer. Since we only have one script so far and a few images, it's pretty quick. But we know that it's on iOS now, because we look right here, we can see that the little Unity symbol is now next to iOS. And even though I click on something else, the Unity symbol stays there. That means that this is an iOS build. And to further show that this is an iOS build, I'm going to close this. And if we go to the game scene here, right now this is set to free aspect, but as you can see, we have different options for different resolutions of iOS devices. So we have iPhone tall, iPhone wide, iPhone 4 tall, and we go all the way through. They have iPhone 5, and they just have a regular iPhone tall, iPhone wide, iPad, and these, and you can see the ratios here. So what we can do is we can just do the iPhone, we could do the tall, any one of these tall ones, but the cool thing about this, I'll show you. When I change this, let's just go to iPad tall, because everything we do in here for this app is going to be in portrait mode, okay, not landscapes, which is tall. You can see when I switch that, see what happened there? It cut off a lot of the screen, and it shows you your layout. Now over here we have the scene view, and you can see this outline right here. That is another representation of our screen, and you also have it over here as well. Now let's look at this, iPad tall. We can go to iPhone tall. See how that crunches in a bit? And if you notice, our UI moved a little bit. Let's look at that again. Watch the images and the text. Actually, they did not move. It looked like they moved though. If you don't have them anchored right, we're going to get to that in a second. They can move. But let's look at iPhone 5 tall. It comes in even more, right? iPad tall. So there's one that changed the resolution, right? It changed the size of my images. Well, and the screen changed. So it crunched everything down in the middle. So, this could be a design flaw if you were designing for iPad tall, but you didn't take into consideration that somebody could be using maybe an iPhone if you allowed them to do that. So if you went to iPhone 5 tall, it would totally change the way that your app looks. So these are some of the things you need to keep in consideration, and always testing these throughout your life cycle. And then we can go to another tall one, iPhone 4 tall. And you can see how when you switch between these, it totally changes. So there's some things we can do to fix that. But in order to do that, we need to understand how canvases work, how panels work, and how the hierarchy of that works, and how our anchors work. And so that's what we're going to do for the rest of this tutorial. So first thing you want to do is you want to look over here. In our Hello World tutorial, we automatically had a canvas that was laid down. If you look over here, the canvas is the area that all the UI elements should be inside. So we have our UI elements of text, image, and we have buttons. Okay, and it's also a game object, and the game object just has a canvas component on it. So meaning that we have this game object called canvas, and the component here is all of this canvas stuff we see, right? And it also has a rect transform. If you don't understand some of these, like rect transform and some of these, I'm also going to have down. If you're looking at this on YouTube, you'll see in the comment section I'll have links to the Unity website, or it'll be on the web page. If you're viewing this from a web page, the info will be there as well. Now, as you can see, the canvas area is shown as a rectangle in our scene view, and the edges of that rectangle are also the edges of your screen in your game view here. See, and remember, when you're looking at this, you have this draw order, right, on the screen. So anything that's up here means it gets drawn to the screen first. So in this instance, if we look at canvas, text gets drawn to the screen first, then our image gets drawn, and then our buttons get drawn. And it's in that order. So if I had things underneath the buttons, they would get drawn in that order. And it's not as important to know that now, but if you were manipulating, like if you wanted to have certain images drawn on top of other images, you would just manipulate the draw order by moving it in your hierarchy. Now, one of the important things to know is the render mode in our canvas. We have 3 different render modes that we can use. The one that we're going to be using is screen space overlay, and let me show you that. If we go to hit canvas, and then we can go over here to the canvas and we see render mode. We have screen space overlay. We also have screen space camera. It only works if you have a camera, but we're not using a camera. This is more, the screen space camera is more for if you're making a traditional video game and you wanted the UI, if you've never played video games or if you've ever played them, and you can see that when you hit the pause button or you want something to come out and make a choice, this UI will slide out. And that UI can be part of your camera that's following you around, and it can be part of that camera space. So that's the screen space. And the world space, meaning that you would have, and it disappears because it's somewhere else in the world, but in the world space means if you wanted the UI element to be in the world. So if you're playing a first-person shooter or a third-person game, and you wanted the character to walk around, but you wanted the UI to be in specific places in the world, so the character can walk up on the UI, that's where we would use that and give it a world space. But we're not doing any of those. The only one we're doing is the screen space overlay. So we'll click back on that. And another thing that I like to do, so again, make sure that your canvas is in screen space overlay. And what I like to do is since we're probably going to have more than one screen, there's this other UI element that I like called the UI panel. And we're going to go ahead and add one to our project now and put everything you see on this screen onto the panel. So what you do is you go to canvas. We're going to right click on canvas. We're going to go down to UI, and then from there we're going to go down to panel, and we're going to add a panel. And see, now it added a panel, and you can tell it because this is the panel's color that you see here. Let me zoom in a bit here. Command Z that back. And what I'm doing here is I'm holding down the right mouse button. And when I do that, I can move the screen around like that, and then I can use my wheel to kind of zoom in a bit. So we have this panel, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight text. What you can do is you can hold down the command button, highlight text, highlight image, highlight your button. Then I'm going to drag all these down to my panel. And now they're part of my panel. Pretty cool. So now we're as part of the panel, which means a cool thing about Unity is when you have other objects, such as the text here, the image, and the button, and they're they're all together under a parent object, which in this case is our panel. The cool thing is I don't have to worry about if I want to move all these together, I can just click on the panel and then I can go over here and I can move it and it all moves together. Pretty cool. Command Z that back, we're going to keep that there. And just to, for now we're going to leave that background of the panel. We'll change that later. So I mean, that's really cool. So another thing we can do, now that we have the panel, and so from here on out, every time we want to create a new screen, we're just going to create a new panel. Okay. So in this case, we're going to call this panel I'm going to rename it. So what you can do, you can either double click it. Actually, you have to click and hold, I think. So you can click it and then kind of click on the words again, and then that will come up. I think you can also right click on it and rename it too. We'll try that. Right click, yeah, rename. And I'm going to call this main underscore panel. That way I know, let me do a capital P. That way I know that this is my main panel, which you can also name it your main screen. Really whatever you want to do, just know that this is kind of the main screen that you go to, our main panel. So to try to, if we want to make sure that every time we go to a different screen in Unity, that these stay where you want them to stay. So say we want this image to always be at the top of the screen, and maybe we want this text to always be in the middle, and we always want this button to be somewhere at the bottom. Really cool fix, guys. So again, if we wanted the image, let's left click on the image here. Okay, you see this thing right here? It's called an anchor. And if you click on that like I just did, it'll come up with all these different presets of where you want the object to be anchored. Right now the object is always anchored in the middle of the, toward the middle of the screen. Doesn't mean it's in the middle, but it will be in a position relative to the center of the screen. Okay, and to show you that, no matter what, we had one of these right here. Let's go to the one that had it. See, this is always toward the middle of the screen. Now, let's go back to iPad tall. Or actually, some of you may be doing this on a phone, so let's do iPhone tall. And then let's change this anchor to be, we want it to be at the center, but toward the top of the screen. See that? We're going to click this one right there. And to show you what effect that did, we're going to go back, change our view to, I think it was iPhone 4 tall. See the difference there? So now this is always anchored to the top of the screen. And then it's always at the top, and it's always going to be in the center. So if you, I'll show you over here. So if you look at my scene view, it's always going to be at the top, and it's always, we don't want to do that. And it's always going to be toward the center. Now, we can play with this a little bit. Let's change it back. One thing to note is when you change this, always change it back to the one that you're designing for. So in this case, I'm going to put it back to iPhone tall. And let's say I want it to, I'm going to change it to center. Maybe I want it to always be anchored to, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe let's look in our scene view here. And let's move this image over here. Let's say that I always want it to be anchored to the top left. Now, if I do that and I change this, no matter what I do, it's going to be in the top left. I can change it to any of these different resolutions, different screen sizes, and it's always going to be in the top left. Now, again, to show you just one more example to try to drive this home, let's go back to iPhone tall, and let's change this to be anchored to the bottom left. Now let's go through our different resolutions. See, it's not even there for that one. See, now it's moving. It's trying to compensate and be more toward the bottom of the left of the screen, depending on which one of these you choose. Okay, let's go back to iPhone tall. Let's move our image. Let's go back over to scene view. Let's move our image to be the middle. And we're going to let this guy be back at the top. You also have these that stretch it too. So let's say you wanted your image to stretch for the screen. You can play with these different ones. But I encourage you to go through, spend some time, play around with these anchors, because these are going to be critical for when you make apps and you want these to go to different screens, right? So go through each one of these. This is kind of your assignment for this tutorial. And make sure you have this, that you look at the canvas. Go to Unity's website, read about the canvas, read about the main panel, read about panels, UI panels, and then make sure you make all these three a child of this main panel. And then go through and play with your anchors, okay? Go through and play with the anchors of each one of these buttons. Right now, they're all defaulted to the center, except for this one because we changed it. We're going to make it the top row, that one. And then go through and play with each one of these, okay? And I think you'll start getting an idea of how these work. and how you can always make sure they're in a certain area of your screen depending on what what kind of resolution or what kind of screen you're working with. So that was a very short tutorial today, guys. I just wanted to show you how you can switch over to iOS. I wanted to introduce the panels and how we're going to be moving forward with screens, and I want to introduce the anchoring, because the anchoring will be a big thing later. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please email me. The email should be on the website or already be in the comment section below if you're looking on YouTube. And looking forward for our next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and dive into app development. So we're going to take images and we're going to bring them in similar to what we've already done, but we're going to start making it a little bit nicer and start actually putting a lot of functionality and navigating through a basic app. Okay, guys? All right, thanks for joining me today, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thanks.